On today's episode of Comic Book Cinema, Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye could potentially be back in the MCU, even after the debilitating injury that he suffered roughly a year ago. Madam Web's box office hopes are not looking very bright. Matthew Vaughn thinks that Deadpool 3 will save the MCU. All this and more in today's episode of Comic Book Cinema.
This is the best place to get your comic book movie fix. Comic Book Cinema. Introducing your host. He has the strength of Hawkeye, the charm of Ghost Rider, and the humble attitude of Bruce Wayne. Right after he buys your mom's house, Mr. Jonathan May.
How much will Madam Web make at the box office? As it stands, Madam Web's box office projections are record-breaking, and not in a good way. The movie's opening weekend is set to be a massive box office flop, only earning 25 to 35 million. That's the projections and where they're at right now. But folks, this is not looking good for Madam Web. This could make Madam Web the lowest earning domestic opening for a Sony Spider-Man movie ever, which, let's be honest here, this is not a Spider-Man movie. Sure, it's a Spider-Verse movie, but we're literally picking the universe clean. We're taking these characters that are so obscure, that are so barely connected to the Spider-Man universe, that nobody really cares. That's what Sony's doing right here. We're making an anti-hero movie about Morbius. Now we're going to make an anti-hero about Kraven. Before you know it, all your villains are going to be anti-heroes. The first Venom movie, a lot of people liked that movie, and I personally thought it was fine, but Venom 2 was garbage. How can you take an actor like Woody Harrelson and make him look like a cheeseball? That's what these Sony films have done. They have managed to ruin every Spider-Verse character that they can so far. I don't see that changing anytime soon, especially with this film, Madam Web. The movie is also predicted to end its run, having only earned 56 to 101 million, which could make it one of the biggest box office flops of 2024. If these projections are correct, Madam Web would replace Morbius as the Sony Spider-Man universe's biggest commercial failure in recent years. And what is Sony going to continue to do? They're going to continue to pump these movies out until they bankrupt themselves or ruin the reputation of Spider-Man. Someone has got to stop Sony. Where is J. Jonah Jameson when you need him? And meanwhile, also behind the scenes, Sony allegedly, this is all rumor and speculation, but there are some pretty relatively reliable sources that are putting this info out into the ether. But word on the street is that currently, Tom Holland and Marvel are having arguments and fights behind the scenes with Sony because Sony wants to bring back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire again for another multiversal movie, which would completely ignore the ending of the last Spider-Man movie. That certainly sounds like a decision that Sony would be making right now. But Marvel and Tom Holland, on the other hand, are wanting the film to be a lot more grounded and street level. Whatever happens with this, we'll see. Sony, I think, at this point would be better off bringing back Andrew Garfield and having him be the Spider-Man of the universe that they've created here. It would somewhat save this universe. I mean, Venom is still pretty cool, even though the second Venom film, in my opinion, was garbage. But it would still be cool to see Tom Hardy face off with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Whatever happens at this point is anyone's guess. The whole Sony universe, with the exception of their animated division, is a complete and utter mess. Speaking on Bro Bible's post-credit podcast, director Matthew Vaughn, who brought us X-Men First Class, among other films, said that he's hoping for nothing but the best for the sequel, which he's referring to Deadpool 3 here. Vaughn, who's making the press rounds in support of his latest directorial effort, Argyle, which I've heard is an utter piece of garbage. I never was into the Kingsman films. If you like that, he directed them as well. But the director was quoted saying, "The few snippets that I know about Deadpool versus Wolverine or Wolverine versus Deadpool, I'm sure that an argument between Ryan and Hugh is happening as we speak, are unbelievable. That's going to be the jolt. The Marvel Universe is about to have a jolt of them, and it's going to bring that body back to life. I think Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are about to save the whole Marvel Universe." So apparently he's at least seen some clips of this movie, possibly the whole thing. We're not sure if he's friends with Sean Levy, who is the director of Deadpool 3 and also directed Deadpool 2. Here's my biggest fear. I'm going to start off with the negative. I'm worried, just like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, just like even Spider-Man No Way Home, the expectations for this film are going to be sky high. They've already announced several cameos here, returning old Fox Universe X-Men, possibilities of the old Magneto as played by Ian McKellen, and the old Professor X as played by Sir Patrick Stewart. We've also seen set leaked photos where it appears someone who's dressed in the old Sabretooth garb from the first X-Men film that came out in 2000 will also be in the film. We don't know if this is just a stuntman. It's probably not going to be likely the same exact actor that played him 24 years ago. And we've also heard that Jennifer Garner is going to be back as Elektra. So my biggest fear here is that the expectations will be too high for some audience members and fans. I'm trying to keep my expectations as low as possible. It's going to be really exciting to see Hugh Jackman return to that role once again since Logan, which has been several years now. What do you guys think? Do you think that Deadpool 3 will set the world on fire and be the jolt that the Marvel Universe needs to get back to where they need to be? Let me know in the comments below. For those of you that do not know, 53-year-old actor Jeremy Renner suffered a serious injury about a year ago after being run over by his own snowplow at his Nevada home. Since then, he's been slowly recovering, and now he feels like he's strong enough to return to the role of Hawkeye. Check it out. When asked about returning to the part, Jeremy told Entertainment Tonight, "I'm always game. I'm going to be strong enough, that's for sure. I'll be ready. All those guys that came to my bedside, and they've been with me all along through this recovery. So if they want me, they can have me." Jeremy spent more than 2 weeks in the hospital after breaking more than 30 bones in this accident. And he's going to prioritize health and wellness for the rest of his life. I'm sure an experience like this would definitely be life-changing. I've broken a few bones, but I've never broken 30 at one time, so I can only imagine what it's like. Jeremy Renner is definitely a beloved actor. Everyone loves to see his interpretation of Hawkeye on the big screen, so hopefully he does come back to the role soon. Recently, the DCU and James Gunn have announced who their new Supergirl is going to be. I personally haven't seen the new Game of Thrones, but from what I've heard, she's a really good actress. She definitely looks the part. It's exciting to see that everything is starting to come together for this new DCU. And also recently there were some leaked photos that popped up of the new Daredevil costume. It's definitely very bright, but I'm not one of those that thinks that an outfit will make or break a show. And for the news, that pretty much does it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on our other socials. And until next time, have a good one.